Welcome back to the beauty of Sri Lanka and welcome back to this epic adventure that is the TukTuk tournament. For 2 weeks, 100 teams from around the world will compete in challenges in the Sri Lankan landscape. Well, to be honest, more like 98 teams, for the 2 teams from Nomadic are here for the experience and what turned out to be a road trip for a lifetime. In part 1 of the series, the tournament was officially launched, and with 100 teams and 100 blinged-up tuk-tuks, it was total mayhem on the streets of Kandy. And even though it wasn't technically a race, all teams pushed their little machines to the limit and were waving in and out of traffic Sri Lankan style, all heading north.
That complete chaos. That was epic. Let the crazy begin.
We are so far ahead of the other guys. That is embarrassing. Oh shit.
And it felt like we took over the road, if just for a short while, and even trucks and buses, usually our arch enemies, seems to be hesitant to get in the way of these weird-looking tuk-tuks with their weird-looking people zipping in and out of the traffic at full speed. One thing we couldn't escape with speed was the weather. It started gloomy in the morning, but as the day went on, we found ourselves caught in a tropical rainstorm that just got worse and worse. In the beginning, we took it as part of the adventure, even found it exciting and fun. The sad and lonely windshield wiper stubbornly tried to combat the flooding with absolutely no effect, and everything inside the tuk-tuk were completely soaked, including ourselves. It felt like the local gods was trying to wash us off their land, and we fought back with determination and persistence and our ever-present bad sense of humor.
Jeg tror det regner.
Det er godt observeret, det er godt observeret.
Er det en lille by?
Det er bare en lille by. Ingen problem der.
Skal vi køre en tur?
Ja, det er godt. Det er næsten en her. Det er også fint.
Er du seriøs?
Jeg er klar.
Han er klar på at køre, Lars.
But then it started to turn deadly serious, and we began to understand why we were advised not to drive in heavy rain. Everything and everybody around us was on a common death risk in normal condition, but with the storm rolling in, it seemed like the weather condition fueled the madness to even greater highs.
Fucking idiot!
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Are we okay?
You still live?
So the drive turned from being mad and slightly entertaining to a drive on constant alert, and the banter in the tuk-tuks turned eerily silent. It was about the drive and about staying alive. In the end, the logic prevailed, and we decided to give up, get off the road and park our tuk-tuks, our wet bags and strained nerves into the first hotel we could find. But the following day, the weather improved and the countryside got more and more beautiful the further north we got. The main roads got replaced with dirt roads and rice paddies, and sitting in the open tuk-tuks, we got back the feeling of closeness to the countryside, its people, and the whole experience of being on an adventurous road trip. And to our surprise, we were also quite alone in this experience since we didn't encounter any other tourists along the way. Not like a few here and there, but like in not a single soul. So last night we arrived at this hotel in the middle of nowhere, close to Sigiriya, half an hour from there. And this is a huge hotel, oversized hotel, kind of weird place, but we are the only persons here. There is no one else around. And we stopped for lunch yesterday, and that was also at a hotel because we saw they had a restaurant, so we went in. And there was also absolutely no persons at that hotel either. So I think this is because they have had some trouble with the visa to get into Sri Lanka. They just changed the rules. But if you're watching this, I can highly recommend you to come to Sri Lanka, because this is such an awesome place with such nice people. And they need some more tourists. And the language barrier? Well, we quickly learned that you came far with hand signals, expressive gestures, and an open mind. Even though I guess nobody in that conversation understood anything. But as always, smiles all around. And even though the race had just started, we had been driving our tuk-tuks for more than a week at this point and started to feel a kinship with our small but sturdy machines. With that in mind, it's time for a little old-fashioned car review of this mighty tuk-tuk. Let me give you a review of the Indian tuk-tuk. It got an engine, almost 10 horsepower, and it got side mirrors that can be adjusted. And it got 2 glove boxes. And it got a tank gauge that almost works. It got a speedometer that kind of works, and an odometer that works. And a cloth for checking the oil. And it got lights, and it got window wipers. And it got blinkers both ways. And it got a cup holder. Yeah. And it got a handbrake. And it got a holder for your phone, so you can use it as GPS. And it got a manual kickstarter if needed. And it got 3 wheels without any traction. Room for 1 passenger in front and room for 2 adults in the back, or a couple of Sri Lankan families. And it comes with a tank that can hold 9 liters, enough for around 100 kilometers, or a reserve tank of 1 liter. And it comes with reverse gear. Yeah. And it comes with a roof. And it comes with rain covers. And it's a twin spark. Yes, defying physics, common sense, and probably all safety requirements in the Western Hemisphere. But what a sexy machine. Picture this, rising 200 meters straight out of the jungle like it's auditioning for a role in a fantasy movie. You find a rock that is a full-blown drama-packed historian-soaked adventure waiting for your Instagram feed or a legendary selfie. This is Sigiriya, also called the Lion Rock. And of all the famous sites in Sri Lanka, this is probably the most well-known and most visited. Dating back to 300 BC, this rock has been a Buddhistic temple, a palace, and a pilgrimage site. But whatever it is, it's simply just jaw-dropping impressive. So here we are, in front of the Lion Rock itself. It's a beautiful place in an even more beautiful surrounding. But if you want to climb the rock, you better prepare for a climb that's not for the faint-hearted or for people with the fear of heights. And even though we love to cruise around in our beloved tin cans, they are a bit cramped, so getting out of vehicles to stretch our stiff limbs now and then is a bless, even though the heat of Sri Lanka is even worse on a rock with no shades, especially if you, like us, visit the place in the midday sun.
Okay, climbing synthetic 37, 38. And my knees had a surgery in June. What else could I complain about? Oh yeah,
Your age.
those glasses, my sensuality is a little bit confused. Well, all good.
Well, not me! The official number of tourists that visit this site every year is about 1 million. But since the tourism here in Sri Lanka fluctuates a lot, it's probably between 1 or 2 million. But look like we have beaten the crowd. Probably because of all the trouble there has been with getting a visa to get into Sri Lanka. And here in Sri Lanka, monkeys are ever present and, to be honest, often a pain in the butt. But we have been prepared for this though, so we were a bit smug when we noticed monkeys creating havoc on some of the others parked tuk-tuk, since we have paid the on-site guards to look after ours. But we soon got a lesson in karma. When we returned our tuk-tuks, the monkey might have used the other vehicles for fun and games, but ours were apparently a designated toilet. To be frank though, we could only blame ourselves, for these two lovely characters were the ones we paid to look after our stuff and our tuk-tuks. All charm, but no alertness.
tuk-tuk Chulaman onto the Sigiriya.
Back in the now smelly tuk-tuks and back on the road, we headed east towards Maduru Oya National Park, since we were informed that not only was the landscape very different from what we have been seeing so far, but there was also a real chance to encounter wild elephants from the main road. In the end, we didn't see any elephants, and in fact we didn't see much life at all in terms of animals and other people, except a few confused cows. But somehow that wasn't a bad thing, because we found ourselves driving around a landscape that felt otherworldly and with a presence and a magic that is hard to describe, and definitely enhanced by driving in these open tuk-tuks. At the time we didn't talk much about it, but somehow we all felt like travelers of old, exploring a new frontier. It's a rare feeling in this modern world of ours, but a feeling that is worth embracing. And what a frontier to explore. But in the end, boys will be boys, and we soon stopped being in awe by the surreal landscape and started to realize that we had one of the world's most beautiful and exotic racetrack right in front of us and all to ourselves. And we did have two of these tiny machines, so there was no excuse. Time for playing around and time for a little race. In the end, it turned out to be a look form affair though, since Anders and Henriks had one of the oldest tuk-tuk in the lineup, so even though they had named it Linda after the race driver we met on a nomadic trip to Finland, what she had in personality, she lacked in power. But as usual, we didn't really care about how it ended. It was all about the journey. Turning back towards Kandy and the mid-race party, we once again found ourselves caught in the beauty of the country, and once again the openness of the tuk-tuk made it even more up close and personal. We passed waterfalls, smiling people, animals, landscapes that looks like they were photoshopped. We even started to enjoy our little rivalry with the trucks and the buses and the oversized vans, and loved the feeling of being on a road trip that felt like a real life adventure. Even though Henrik, who was our drone pilot on this trip, kept stopping every half an hour for yet another drone launch because he saw something vaguely interesting. Nobody mind when the photos turned out like this. And yes, that's a crocodile you see lazily swimming in the foreground. And yes, sometimes it got a bit too in-house in lack of a better term, so if you are not Danish, this will probably not make sense to you.
Nej, så ligner jeg Benny. Der får jeg Benny.
Ej, du er kæld.
Jeg er kæld. Jeg får kæld med tasken. Jeg skal gå med den sådan her foran. Ja.
Then we were back in Kandy for the second and last time on the trip, where it was time for a break from the dusty tuk-tuks, hang out at the pool, exchange war stories with the other teams. And with 100 teams, a lot had happened. A last American woman actually managed to turn her tuk-tuk upside down doing a corner. And no, our Norwegian friend had not yet had any success in finding love. One thing that didn't work out as well as hoped was our over-engineered water cannons we brought from back home. So Anders and Henrik, of course, went low-tech and emptied all the Toy Stories in Kandy for plastic water guns and turned into an even bigger menace on the road. And in the spirit of the tournament, you don't gather all the teams without a party. So for the second time in Sri Lanka, we found ourselves engulfed in what can only be described as one heck of an arrangement. Same recipe as last, with a lot of semi-cultural foreplay, which then developed into another full-scale party explosion. Last time we left Kandy after the start of the race, it was pouring down, and this morning it looked like a repeat of that, which neither of us looked forward to, especially with yet another hangover. But when it was time to leave, Kandy said its goodbye with a blue sky and the perfect setting for the last leg of the tournament. Time for heading south. Today we start the second leg of the race heading south, and I have really been looking forward to where we're going next, because just outside Kandy there is a unique landmark of Sri Lanka called Ambuluwawa Tower, which was built in 2009 and is a symbol of harmony and unity. But whatever it is, it's absolutely bonkers. The tower itself is 55 meters, but placed on the top of a 1,100 meter high mountain. Everything is just in the clouds. So far, none have died, apparently. But that in itself is a miracle, since the tower is this crazy scary construction with a narrow external staircase as the only way to the top and the same only way down again afterwards. And when we say narrow, we do mean narrow. But before we could climb the tower itself, we had to get there. And with the very steep access road, and with the weather turning grey and wet again, it became a struggle for our small tuk-tuks, and yet again the feisty Linda with the old engine had to fight for it. So much so that at some point we doubted she could even make it to the top.
This is as much as fire can handle.
Molly kæmper. Molly, undskyld. Linda. Linda kæmper.
Woo! We made it! Good job, Freya. Now we're just waiting for Linda and see if she can come up this mountain.
But losing some weight and giving her a loving push worked wonders. Then the magic of Sri Lanka intervened yet again, for what looked to be one of those days where everything was just fighting us actually became one of the best experiences on the whole trip. When we finally reached the summit, the cloud had parted, letting the blue sky peek through, and the Ambuluwawa Tower was greeting us in all its glory. And yes, it's not that old, being built in 2009, and yes, it is not record-breaking in any way, but somehow the craziness of the whole thing and the experience of climbing it, squeezing you past other locals and tourists, all smiling and laughing, was an adventure in itself.
Jeg sveder nu.
You like it?
No.
No.
I really don't.
But somehow the tower and the whole aura around it embodied Sri Lanka for us. It was crazy, funny, beautiful in its own right, and all the people you met on the way welcomed you with smile and affection, sharing stories and sharing experiences.
When we was coming up, we were fucking stuck. I was almost fell down there.
I want to throw.
I was so much.
I want to throw at.
How are you feeling?
Not so good.
Not so good? No. But there's such huge stairs. No worries. Damn.
I don't know whose idea this was. Fucking crazy idea.
Henrik's idea.
I regret every single second. So we just met a girl. She told us 10 years ago there were no railing, only handles, only these 10 years ago. Yep. And she climbed it.
Jesus.
Hello.
Hello.
And when we left, the clouds came back, engulfing the tower as if the place bid us farewell in a way that was fitting for the whole experience. Even if we tried, we couldn't have scripted it better. When it comes to Sri Lanka, tea is probably what you think of first, and especially in the central highlands, the climate and the varied elevation makes the cornerstone for some of the best tea in the world. The production of tea employs, directly or indirectly, almost 1 million people and account for 2% of the GDP, so it's something they take quite seriously here. Since we are mostly coffee drinkers, except for Anders, the whole tea experience wasn't something we got too excited about, but what could get us excited was the background for it. The landscape setting in the north might have been beautiful, but the landscape here in the central highlands around the town of Novara Elea and Ella was absolutely stunning. So here it was all about enjoying the drive, the cooler climate, and the views that just kept giving. But of course, this also meant our tuk-tuks had yet another mountain to climb, literally. And since the hotel we have found was up high on a peak, it was another long and hard struggle to keep the little tin cans running. And once again, it was all about shedding some weight and putting some manpower into pushing them, all in the name of adventure and the road trip. But even though we had reached the highlands, something stayed the same. Anders and Henrik were like kids with their water guns, and yes, the traffic on the winding roads were still as insane as anywhere else on the island. When it comes to police, we had seen the odd policeman here and there along the way, but this was our first time running into a roadblock, and they were cool enough even though Anders tried to do a staring contest with them, so don't let the cool shades and the serious frown fool you. These guys are as friendly as they come, and were happy to have us exploring their country. And then we finally arrived to one of our goals from home, the Yala National Park. It is the second largest park in Sri Lanka with around 1,000 square kilometers, and even though it's the most visited of all parks, you can spend days here without meeting other people. In Yala you'll find up to 350 elephants, leopards, sloth bears, water buffaloes, flying snakes and 2 types of crocodile, so an absolute heaven if you love animals. We ended up spending a full day here enjoying being away from the steering wheel and the hectic traffic, if just for a moment, and just enjoying being surrounded by the jungle and animals in the wild the way it should be. And, oh yes, we finally had all the elephants we could wish for, and even some massive crocodiles keeping us company. And again, Sri Lanka wrote the script for us, because as we were leaving the park, we had quite a close-up and personal encounter with a male elephant, an encounter that ended by him showing us who rules in the jungle. And with that fanfare, we left Yala and left the jungle for the last time. Then we reached the coast and the end of our journey, and even though we had longed for the beach and some R&R time, we somehow didn't find the same love for the south as we did for the mainland. Too many tourists, locals were less friendly, and the beach bars and the more civilized town with their restaurants and nice hotels and wonderful pools and white people in sarongs was a bit alien to us at that exact time and place. We gave back the tuk-tuks with a sad heart and found ourselves back at being passengers in the vehicles we had come to love when going from place to place. But again, who are we kidding? The sadness didn't last long, and for a few days we did enjoy the tropical beach, being under the shade of the palm trees and hanging out with 200 happy people and escaping the heat by jumping in the Indian Ocean. And yes, there was a party. There is always a party. Sri Sri Lanka is an amazing country with amazing people and amazing history. So don't be scared by the reputation. The island deserves your attention and deserves a bigger share of the mass tourism that flocks to Southeast Asia for its weather, its landscape and its people. And when you do come, do it in a tuk-tuk, either by yourself or by joining the tuk-tuk tournament. We guarantee it will be an epic adventure for a lifetime, and an adventure that is easy to access for people who are not necessarily seasoned travelers. So get out there and seek your own adventure and your own memories.
Welcome to Sigiriya tuk-tuk
Tournament, yeah.
tournament. Okay, bye bye.
बन्नों के हाथों में आज मैं दिल जिए, बाबुल के आंगन में आज खुशियाँ सजिए। बन्नों के हाथों में आज मैं दिल जिए, बाबुल के आंगन में आज खुशियाँ सजिए।
बैंड ले आओ, जश्न मनाओ, वेडिंग दी पार्टी इधर जमाओ। रिश्ते नाते दोस्त मोहल्ला आज की रात तुम सबको बुलाओ। ऑन द हार्ड क्रॉस फ्लोर पे आओ, डिस्को छोड़ो गिद्दा पाओ। दारू शारू कीप इट फ्लोइंग, वेडिंग दी पार्टी इधर जमाओ।
बन्नों के हाथों में आज मैं दिल जिए, बाबुल के आंगन में आज खुशियाँ सजिए। बन्नों के हाथों में आज मैं दिल जिए, बाबुल के आंगन में आज खुशियाँ सजिए।
स्वीट स्टाइल रानी आग लगाती, दिलों की तू रफ्तार बढ़ाती। लंदन फैशन वीक में तेरी चर्चे, ये तो बता तू क्या है खाती। कंट्रोल से आगे कंट्रोल ना होता, तूने मेरी हवा उड़ा दी। कह डालूं तुझे सीधी बात में, चल मेरे संग बाहर खड़ी में कैची। बैंड ले आओ, जश्न मनाओ, वेडिंग दी पार्टी इधर जाओ।